Welcome back to Orange Hat Reviews, everyone. We are still waiting on one more, but we are going to get things started. We got with me today Chris Knight from Real Review 3000 and Chaos Central. And we have one more join in. And hopefully, anybody who wants to join in from fans of the Terminator franchise, we got them going, or if they want to come in and discuss it or Dark Fate a little bit too, we can. But before hello, Caroline, good to see you. Before we do get into it, we did forget in the last stream to give our scores for Terminator Genesis. So, Chris, without ado, how would you score Genesis?
Well, you do subjective and then non-subjective. Subjectively speaking, from like digging into it, looking at it for everything it is, I'm going to give it about anywhere from a 6.5 to a 7. There are issues there. And some glaring ones at that. But when I watched it the first time and I had heard all the crap, much like Dark Fate, I had heard all the crap about, oh, this is horrible, blah, 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 blah. I watched it and I'm like, this isn't that bad. So from just a watching and a fan standpoint, I think it deserves probably about an 8 to 9. I'll go 9 because I just like the fact that they were playing with it.
At the time, I was going through a couple of things in life, so I really didn't have much time to see any of the marketing for Dark Fate, so the marketing didn't really affect my opinion of it. However, I will say, objectively speaking, the movie truly shined in the beginning, the future war and the 80s sequence. When it got to the future stuff in 2017, it's like, it's not, this is where mistakes are made, you know? And how you doing, Soul Assassin? Objectively, I would actually give Genesis around a 7-ish. And we got the arrival of movie aficionados.
Hey, Josh, what's going on?
What's going on, man? I hope my audio's all right. I'm still like, I'm on this.
It's all good.
Good.
We're just discussing how we would rate Genesis because we forgot to do that in my last stream. So subjectively, I actually liked Genesis. I would actually give it an 8 to a 9. And moviegoer, from strictly entertainment value alone, I would put it at about a 9 to a 9.5. Right. So stay tuned, folks, to the end of the stream, because we do have a special announcement that we are going to make for a special stream to really close out the Terminator franchise. But without further ado, we're going to get into the stream talking points where we go over the movie and certain behind the scenes reports that have been reported on, different dialogue swap outs that they actually did and whatnot. So the first scene of Terminator Dark Fate was basically a small reminder of what the future was like under Skynet, with the T-800s coming in off the Guatemalan beach. And then we get the de-aged Sarah Connor in 1998 looking at her son while he's chatting up a girl. I like Genesis, and I think it's much better than it's given credit for. I honestly agree. And hello to Billy Tamp 73.
Billy Tamp, yeah. Billy Tamp,
yeah. Thank you for coming on in, and I believe you're a new one to the channel, so welcome. So she's giving her narration on how she and John stopped Skynet, and as she's looking at her son, you see a Terminator walk up, a de-aged Arnold T-800, and they actually did a very good job with the digital face replacement and the de-aging and whatnot, I honestly think they did a pretty good 98% successful job. You could still tell that she doesn't look 100% full like Sarah in back then, but she still looked very much almost 100% like her. And this is the scene. Yeah, this is the scene that really pissed off, or oh, we lost movie aficionados.
He's on his laptop, so there could be an issue.
Yeah.
All right.
And this is one that really divided the fans, because a lot of the fans, when they were seeing the trailers, is like, where's John Connor? Where's John Connor? And who are these new girls and whatnot? People do call this movie woke fate and whatnot. And there he is. He's back.
What the hell? What the hell happened here? Sorry. I'm trying to get this thing. Oh, I think it's dear Christ, man.
It happens.
Oh my God, dude.
It's all right.
So the controversial death of John Connor, a lot of people were not. I've actually witnessed fans of the Terminator movies walk out of theaters. I actually witnessed that, where people were not happy with what happened to John Connor. And they're like, he is the most integral person in the entirety of Terminator. It was built around him. So them changing it, it really did piss off a lot of people. Price is Right is in the chat. Looked at these chats. Sup boys? How you doing? Price is Right. Justice for John Connor. Good to see you. Happy Dino. So what did you guys think about the opening scene? Plus, actually, they did change the line of I saved 3 billion lives, but I couldn't save my son. That was actually a change. She said originally the line was, and this was actually written in, I saved 3 billion lives, but I couldn't save the most important one. So
I think the version I saw, I want to say was that one. I want to say they actually recorded it like that, and I might have seen that. I don't know.
Well,
maybe
then
not.
that would be odd, because the one that I saw had I couldn't save my son.
I'd have to go
what
back.
Did you guys think
I got it. Go ahead, Josh.
No, I'm going to be honest. I don't really remember it that vividly. Like I said to Chris, either of them really. I remember seeing them, Genesis, on TV, I think. I remember seeing Dark Fate at the barbershop, and I was like, oh, I thought some of the action was pretty good. No, I'm just. Well, you asked.
You're fine.
And Chris, I go to the movies all the time.
I know.
I think I've seen like 46 this year. And I didn't see any of the last two Terminators, because the third and fourth one, I personally thought were so bad that I kind of like shied away from the franchise. But if I look at it as like kind of schlocky, fun, not think about the time travel aspects or any of the plot holes or plot details, because that's where you could get caught up. Just look at it, go in, eat your popcorn. They're not the worst things ever, and trust me, I've seen way worse. So that's what I would sum it up as. I will say that you said something about the CG for the de-aging. I've definitely seen a lot better, and again, I've also seen a lot worse with de-aging.
Oh yeah.
I first off, the whole graphics, the CGI and stuff, I thought was done very well. I didn't have a problem. I was told pretty early on, before this movie was even released, that John was going to die.
There was
some people. Well,
rumors
there's some people that. Well, there's some people I talked to who actually knew a couple people on set, and they were already told, they knew it, and they
Are
said,
we talking about a certain British guy across the pond by the name of Mr. H?
No, actually, no, that's not who. But I will say this: I was told that, and I said, okay, and what's wrong? And they said, oh, but that's horrible. And I said, it depends on how they do it. When I watched it, I'm like, there's nothing wrong here. They say it in Terminator 3. Now, when that actually happens, and I've mentioned this 1,000 times, because we're dealing with time travel, things change. Time is fluid.
Yeah.
So something that was done someplace else could have changed this timeline in a way that instead of being when he was older, maybe it was right after they won or stopped Judgment Day. So they send back one more Terminator, and that Terminator, because it looks like Pops
Uncle
or whatever
Bob
you want
at
to call
this
him,
point.
Uncle
In
Bob.
addition to that, though, can I ask you another thing, though? Is it because I remember Genesis was John Connor had come back and he was a magnetic Terminator or something like that. Was that a retconned situation where they completely changed it, or is that still all in the same universe? Dark Fate and
I think it's all in the same universe. I believe it's all because it's multiple timelines you're dealing with.
Because Halloween, it's just like, oh, let's just forget everything that happened. Let's just forget Dr. Loomis. Okay, that's not this. Okay.
Now, that's Dark actually Fate, what they did. They wanted Dark Fate to be a third installment.
3. That's what Carpenter said. Or
okay.
Not Carpenter.
Cameron.
Thank you. I always say that. Cameron wanted that. I don't think he accomplished that. But I just say that they're all multiple timelines changed. Little things change in the time, and it sends these ripples out that change, and so everything's branched out from it. But what I believe is they said that he died. That it's obvious Skynet already. Again, I said Skynet from the future is a singular spot that keeps sending these things back to try to change. So then that's what branches out. So that singular spot in the future branches out multiple branches in the past, and that this is one of them. And since it's already known because of Terminator 3, that because of his association with the T-800, they send one back and they accomplish it. They do, but it doesn't. So I didn't have a problem with that. They told us they were going to do that in 3. So they just basically played that out. I don't think he did anything wrong by doing that. I think that there were some flaws in the execution after that point. But I didn't have a problem with that scene. Once I saw it, I'm like, well, that's kind of what they said happened. So I was kind of confused when he said he was doing this was his 3, yet he took a cue from the actual 3.
Yeah.
It's like,
well, in 3, it was future John Connor that got terminated.
Yes.
Yeah.
But this is future John Connor from Terminator 2.
This is about a year or 2 years later.
I'm gonna have to hit you guys with the Austin Powers bit about just try not to think about it. Break the fourth.
That's what a lot of people say, but you can't really say that to fans of the Terminator franchise. They'll always be thinking.
Sure, I didn't realize I was when you said that. I thought it was going to be like a roast discussion. So I'm sorry. I respect your fanhood. I'm not trying to.
No, you're fine.
Like I said, Dark Fate. To me, it was one of the weaker ones. Chris is a fan of it. I do find some objective quality to it. I'm kind of riding the fence on Dark Fate. I kind of ride the fence on it, to be 100% honest. So then we get to Grace's arrival, and this is where they actually changed how time displacement happens, where instead of heat and instead of burning through things, time displacement freezes things, where it starts freezing on the bridge, and she literally falls. And it's like, if you're a human, you're not surviving that arrival. So that basically establishes that whoever she is, she's definitely not human, or is more than human, because she smacked every rung on the way down. And it's like, ouch. And then we get the police that were a little too zealous, in my opinion, and how they were they're like, whatever, you guys are getting under arrest. We don't care what you're saying. And then she kicks their asses, and she measures the dude's foot against her own. Don't thank me yet. Takes his clothes. We've all seen how that usually happens with people, or with the Terminator movies. So we then get the introduction to Danny Ramos, played by I can't even remember her name. Or they do a good job in this part, or in this scene. They actually do a good job at establishing a parallel between her and Sarah Connor in T1. This woman is innocent. She is carefree for the most part. She has a life before Legion sent out a Rev 9. And she's helping her brother who wants to try to get, or that you get the idea of a long-term goal of them to actually get to America. They actually want to go because they're learning English and whatnot. So then we get to the T, or not the T, but the Rev 9's arrival where, oh, we lost them again. And we get the, hold on one moment. Skynet has basically become a god at this point. It wasn't Skynet, it's called Legion. I think Dark Fate, along with Genesis, killed the franchise. I don't think there will ever be another one. I believe they are actually trying to work on another one.
This is the equivalent of Jurassic Park, Transformers, even Star Wars to some extent. Until there is absolutely nowhere to seep money from, they will go back to it time
over and over.
time and time and time again.
So here's where I did take issue, because I mean, yes, Legion is different than Skynet, so there could be an argument made of the rules of time travel, where we know the rules to be nothing dead can go through. There was absolutely no indication that this Rev 9 sloughed off any sort of living tissue skin. It literally walks up to a woman who's naked, touches the clothes, and just shifts into those clothes. And I'm like, okay, that's very, very much different from how we know time travel to be. So we know that it is different because, as I said, it's not Skynet anymore, it's Legion. So there might be a difference in technology. Also, Tim Miller did say he's not a fan of chrome. Chrome has been done. So they went for more of a dark, oily carbon fiber look, and which actually matches how this thing really works, because it would actually, or carbon fiber and carbon-based life forms, as humans are, might be able to trick a machine into, or might be able to trick magnetics into not ripping it apart, you know? So there is that. And so we get introduced to Danny's family. She had just left the building when the Rev 9 starts to arrive. So this thing is setting the pace for it to be a really quick film, you know?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And we then get to the Prius factory and how she goes to talk to their boss to save Diego's job because a machine is replacing him and eventually going to be replacing all of them. And she's actually trying to threaten the boss. And what are you going to do if I go out and tell everybody that their jobs are going to be put on the line because machines are going to take over, you know? Hey, Jack of all casuals, good to see you.
What's up?
So we then have her father, who did have an interaction with the Rev 9, and she's looking, or it's looking for Danny while imitating the father. Also, Grace basically infiltrates the factory too, smashes a dude's head against the wall. You're going to see a lot of that from Grace in this movie. I mean, that's her basic go-to if it's a guy, is just smash the dude's head up against the freaking wall. Oh, excuse me. And so at the factory, we basically really get into it. Once the Rev 9 sees her, it goes right for the kill. Now, she sees that this thing is raising a gun to her. It looks like her father. She's confused. But then Grace steps in shooting or with a semi-automatic shotgun, blasting away from this thing, and she starts freaking out about her dad getting shot. But it's like, you did see that he raised a gun to you, right? I mean, seriously now. It raised a gun to you, and let me get him back in. Yep. It raised a gun.
Man. Skynet's messing with my stuff, bro.
It's been,
I know, right?
Listen, we've had that problem with multiple people. It
My
happens.
PC, my hard drive died, so I'm doing like it's dying, so I'm doing like a scan. So LDG helped me out with it a little bit.
Of course you did.
Awesome. So I'm rocking this.
So
Rocking the
basically,
PC, right, the laptop. Okay. All right. Sorry. Go ahead, Orange.
So basically, we have this whole freaking, the pace really picks up here. Now, another thing that I am wondering about is during the fight with the Rev 9 and how Grace is sometimes looking, or she actually looks back as she's running as if she knows where the Rev 9 is about to attack from. Now, is that because of her enhancements, or does she have some sort of level of precognition, or what? Because even when they're out during the chase, she's like, oh shit, she looks to the side, and then boom, there's the freaking truck coming through the wall.
Let's look at this from this standpoint. Even in the other movies where they address a human Terminator or human cyborg clone, whatever the hell you want to call it, you would think that if Skynet's going to do this, they're going to research a person's mental abilities and reflexes and a bunch of stuff, because if a person already has those reflexes built in, some sort of a neural net processor that would go into your senses would only help it. You're not going to pick the slowest person out there to tap into these, to put these systems into, because whether or not it enhances it or not, it's less that you have to enhance. If you got somebody that just kind of has that sixth sense going on, or is a little quicker than the guy before them or the woman before them, because there's that thought process in this movie that this was all just to give women the upper hand. But but when you pick,
I will say this. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Chris. I want to say this about that. At least they didn't highlight that. You know, have women in your movie. Let them be badasses. Let them do their thing. Even like Kill Bill, it's like you didn't have like, oh look, that's a badass female character. No, that's a badass character. A lot of movies nowadays, it's like, hey, Ghostbusters, look at me. There's a woman here.
And Grace isn't perfect. There's parts of this movie where she's not perfect. So I didn't mind.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. But if you're picking candidates out to work with and put your systems into to get this clone, you're not going to look for people with generic, mediocre senses and all this other stuff. You're going to look for the highest. So I think, yes, maybe in some sense she has a precognition ability in a sense, or that sixth sense.
Or I think she probably
has that. Well, it is. It would definitely be put in. There'd be her hearing would be augmented, but if she already had that augmentation, that means the augmentation they put in only would make it that much better.
More.
So, yes, and again, you're working from a higher ability to begin with, so it's less work for the processor. The processor says, oh, look, I have to go from here, this level here, to here, not from way down here to up here. So it's less work. So, of course, you're going to look for the prime candidates, and any testing, any type of anything. Humans do that. Of course, a machine would look for the highest capable person.
That's like the opposite of Idiocracy. They wanted to find the most mediocre person to do the test. They want to find the best. It's kind of like a symbiote thing, where it's like who's the best. That's gonna latch on to it. Yeah.
A lot of people actually look at the liquid chrome or the liquid metal thing to this, kind of like, and they were getting symbiote vibes from Venom.
Yeah,
And I'm like, you know what? It does, but it's liquid metal or liquid carbon or whatever.
They're
Now
keeping
the
it
Rev
innovative.
9, yeah, the Rev 9 is interesting because we do get introduced to different capabilities. This thing is much different than TX. It's slightly like the TX from T3 in that it has an endoskeleton and liquid metal or a fluid out or exo. But this one can actually use its exo as an actual functioning entity.
Yes, that was crazy.
Yeah, which we actually see while Grace is trying to pin it into the truck and whatnot. So it actually just grabs onto one of it and sheds itself out to the truck, and that was actually a pretty cool shot. I really like the design of the Rev 9. That is something that I really actually like. It is very minimal. Its head is like just a huge chunk is taken out of it. It's not a full skull. Its face, its back cerebellum area, where cerebrum part of its head can be used to house whatever liquid metal or whatever it is that it is part of. That is also never really established. Is it liquid metal? Is it liquid carbon? What is it? That is one of the things that I wish they had talked about. So what were you going to say?
I when you talk about reboots or new movies where you're continuing down the same path of we have
soft
a
reboots
overall
too.
well yeah whatever best example Bond. James Bond is the best example of a movie that is either soft reboot every once in a while, or if you want to consider it all in one succession, whatever, however you want to look at it. It is very difficult to go from movie to movie and reimagine a character or somebody that's a shadow of character or villain that is really menacing. And Rev 9 in this is, listen, I didn't see how they would win this one because they had an obsolete Terminator. They had a hybrid, but when you see what happens to her when she overexerts herself, that you're sitting there going, well, what the hell is she going to do when she has to fight the guy one-on-one, like for a length of time? She's going to. So it did set up this thought of they're in trouble, even kind of more so than the T-1000. T-1000 was elegant. This is kind of scary. He's not elegant. Listen, holy crap! You can shed the outer layer and be a separate piece from your inner layer, and yet both are doing two different things. That when I saw that in the trailer, I was like, holy crap! Did I just see that?
Yep.
And that's Cameron. That's Cameron's mind working. And I wish
I really like that actor too. The
Gabriel Nunez. Yeah,
I think he wasn't he Ghost Rider
Nunez,
in
Gabriel Luna.
Yeah, I don't know if he's related to Diego Luna, but he's good. I've seen him in other things.
Yeah, he was in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. as Ghost, or as their version of Ghost Rider.
I like that. I like that Ghost Rider, and I was hoping they would do something.
Yeah, that was a different Ghost Rider. Yeah,
yeah,
but it was still a good one. So when they get the car and her brother dies, they're on the bridge, and this thing is walking through metal and other things like it's nothing. It's like, interesting, okay. And you also see that the endoskeleton Rev 9 is not afraid to be seen. I mean, this thing literally at the end of the whole chase and whatnot walks by a person, looks at it like, what's up? It doesn't care. This one is this one is an infiltrator, but it's not caring about staying under wraps.
It's very obvious that so the Terminator was a mix of a couple things. One, it's an infiltrator. Get inside the system where my target is a part of, become a part of that system, blend into that system, and then attack the person.
Yep.
This one, and you kind of see that in most of these Terminator movies, that there are moments
once it cues in on its target, it stops caring about hiding.
Yeah. This one was just full on. I'm going to go wherever I have to go. I'm going to go through whatever I have to go through. I don't care. It's in the middle of this highway where there's traffic and everything's going on, and they're knocking cars left and right. This thing is jumping on cars. He's throwing things through windows. It's like, it's done. It from the very get-go, and you made a very good reference to it. This movie, once it gets to that point, you meet the girl, and then like literally 10 minutes later, you're into it. And in fact, if anything, this movie starts off and pace is really quick, and then it hits a wall for about 20 minutes. And I think that was the most horrible thing they could have done, but whatever.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Character development. I guess you got to have it stop sometimes, but sometimes you don't. I always say, like Mad Max Fury Road, you know.
Well, yeah, but this movie benefits from the less time to think about it.
Yeah.
Yes. Because of all the different rules.
Exactly. When you were thrown into this, it was just kind of go for it. Just okay. I'm on the ride. Here we go. So you didn't have time to think about it. The hard thing for this movie is the second, the third, the fourth rewatch. If you do it that many times, that's where this movie starts getting hurt really bad.
And the reason is they have all these really quick paced things that didn't explain everything because they were expecting this movie to do good. And well, it didn't. It flopped. But
okay.
This movie flopped badly. This lost a lot of money.
Hey, that's the key indicator. That's all that matters. I mean, it supersedes Rotten Tomatoes scores. It supersedes critic scores. If you made money, it doesn't matter. Transformers, Jurassic World.
It also didn't help that Tim Miller insulted fans before the movie even came out.
Did it play in China? Or that's
I honestly, that I don't know. But
biggest question, most important thing.
Well, not really, because China is obsolete. I mean, just look at the Joker.
No,
I mean, had no Chinese release and still made $1 billion.
That's great. I mean, that's but the ones that do, like the Jurassic Worlds and the the Transformers and all that stuff like that, they do really well in China. But
that's because they have to cater to China. But anyway, so we then get introduced to Sarah Connor, and I actually love where Grace says, "When they start to kill me, run." And it's like, what? You're just willing to self-sacrifice yourself a little too much, woman. But you're also capable of what your limitation, or you're also aware of what your limitations are. So that is good. That is actually good. Yeah, I think it lost it lost around $100 million. This movie did not hit its budget. It didn't break even at all. It fell very short.
Wow.
But Grace.
That was pre-COVID. So now it's
that was pre-COVID. So Grace basically says, when they start to kill me, run. It's like, do you honestly think that if it gets close enough, she's going to be able to run at all? That thing, all it needs to do is just throw one damn spear of itself into her, and she's done. But then Sarah shows up, and honestly, that is one of the coolest ways that she showed up. Smacking the freaking endoskeleton, and the endoskeleton's like, what the fuck is this going on?
That's one thing why when I hear people say, woke fate and all that, I'm like, but she is the same. Linda Hamilton did nothing to hurt this movie because she is the same character forward from the second movie.
Yeah, I didn't get those.
She carried it.
Yeah.
But the reason why people called it was how they marketed it.
Because she doesn't give a crap in this movie, more so than any other movie. She no longer cares because she's terminated. As she said in the beginning, I am terminated. Yeah. The moment of peace she had after Terminator 2, if you go by the way this movie is trying to make a direct correlation to, we are a follow-up to 2.
Yeah.
The moment of peace she got was taken away from her, and she has nothing to live for anymore. It doesn't matter. It's until she dies that she's going to keep going after these things. And the only question I have, and here's where the first one, well, I'll wait until you mention the part where she talks about what she's doing, but go ahead.
Yeah. So she delivers the very famous line, "I'll be back," after she drops a freaking lump of C4 onto the onto the excess of the Rev 9. She's like, "I'll be back." And she has the same shotgun that Carl, the T-800 that killed John, used. This is her tool that she's going to use to kill Terminators. The one that killed her son this is her way of saying, "I'm hunting you motherfuckers down, and I don't care how. And I will kill using the tool that killed me," basically. Because she is dead inside. This is a Sarah Connor that is completely dead inside. And while Grace takes Danny into Sarah's car, and she's like, "Son of a bitch!" And she starts crashing, and she explains that she's designed for short bursts. You either kill a Terminator or it kills you in the first few minutes. Otherwise, you're dead. Well, luckily, she's running from this thing, so she's not exactly dying, but she still needs a drug cocktail to maintain her homeostasis, also to maintain basically to maintain her body. The future war against Legion, we do get a small, after they rob the drugstore. Now, another thing that I am going to bring up is that this movie is set in Mexico and in Texas later on. One of the reasons why a lot of people reported on this movie was because this movie did have political bullshit put into it. They were doing the whole, "Oh, it's not so bad in Mexico. Oh, there's not a border crisis," yada, yada, yada. And the thing is, this is where the hypocritical part came in. Every Mexican scene was shot in Spain. And you want to know why? Because the cartels were too dangerous. What's that about the border being safe? Because all three of the main characters, Cameron, Schwarzenegger, and the girl that played Danny Ramos, all were saying, or actually did, political campaigning for the or down during the whole border during the Trump campaign.
Okay.
As for the private chat, we are going to go try to keep this under an hour.
Okay.
But
gotcha.
We will, or if it goes over, it goes over. I'll have to carry it.
Well,
but
we're trying. We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
No, I just put in the private chat because I wanted to be.
No, it's okay, man.
Cool.
So yeah, and I actually reported on that, and it's like, do you guys not see the hypocrisy that you're playing with here? You're saying that you guys campaign saying that, "Oh, the border is safe in us," yet you're filming in Spain. But yeah, that's just one of the things that I also wanted to point out here, because I am going to give you both the positive and negative things that were in this movie and that surrounded this movie, because that is what a discussion should entail. So then we get into the hotel after Sarah basically picks them back up and whatnot, and we get a little introduction to the future war and Legion, and how Grace saves Danny and volunteers for augmentation after Rev 7s, which are pretty freaking cool, by the way. They're more animalistic endoskeletons. They have a sort of, lichens from Underworld.
Yeah.
Their leg structure is basically the same leg structure as the Rev 7s. And the difference between Rev 7s and Rev 9s, besides the endoskeleton structure, is that when they separate, they if you can actually kill the liquid part of it very easily. It cannot reconstitute with like a Rev 9 can.
Yeah.
That's basically how they show it in the movie. So Grace then sheds light on some of the differences. It's like, it's not a Skynet, it's called Legion. I was sent from 2042, and I'm human, just enhanced. And she's like, your turn. My name is Sarah Connor. I hunt Terminators, and then I drink until I black out.
Mm-hmm.
And she also explains how her apocalyptic past was and her apocalyptic future. And she's like, good. John and I changed that. You're welcome. We saved 3 billion lives, you know? But the way that Grace handles this character, or her character has a lot of pride. The way that she's like, Danny's my mission. If you get in my way, I'll fuck you up. I'll tear your throat out and all. It's like, this woman knows a lot more than you, basically. So you might know your future, but she knows about Terminators. You might want to listen to her. You could stop with the whole, I'm going to fuck you up. Honestly, a lot of people give this actress a lot of good acting chops. In this movie, which is the only movie I've seen her in, her acting was not that good. I'm sorry, it just wasn't.
I wasn't all that happy with it.
Yeah. Truck going by, I take it, Chris?
What was that? Yeah, no.
Was there a truck going by?
No, this is the water that always happens when I go on stream.
Oh, yeah. So,
I told you.
It's another stream within a stream. The water's streaming above you.
It's crossing the
and
stream.
Then Sarah then says, you won't last 10 hours. Everywhere you go, you can't go anywhere in this world without leaving a digital footprint a mile wide. So you won't last 10 hours out there. And so they agree to go with her. And so then Legion, or it's described of what Legion is. It was built for cyber warfare. And she's like, those fuckers never learn. So you get that she knows exactly where or what it was or what came from. It is essentially Skynet, just different, or just slightly different. And so Sarah explains that she's getting texts, encrypted, time, date, places where a Terminator, and then it says for John. So she goes to find whoever's fucking with her to kill him, and a Terminator shows up. Now, the way that I see this happening is that Skynets, or when these Terminators are going through time, they are literally safe from any changes that happen from the change in the past. From Skynet being destroyed in the past from T2, they're still being sent back to hunt John Connor, but because these Terminators are arriving at different times, they're still in flux because they're still between time, which protects them from from not existing as most people would see it as. So she explains that she scraps 2 Terminators, and then she gets texts about coronal displacement in Mexico. And so Grace can use her enhancements to look into her phone and finds out that the coordinates are the same ones that are tattooed onto her body. She's like, I was told if my mission went sideways to go to Laredo, Texas. And so they're like, okay, so you want to go with a undocumented Mexican national and a woman who had her own episode of America's Most Wanted to cross the border. Right. And then, so we get further into it. Rev 9 is at a data hub searching for them. And while they're at the place where they're getting ready to go on a train, and one of the dumbest lines, I'm sorry, this is one of the dumbest lines that they put in this movie. It's like awfully crowded. not much. And she's like, well, I wish you two weren't so white. It's like, bitch, do you want to die? I mean, what kind of fucking bullshit is that? No offense, folks, but that was a line that did not need to be in this movie. That is one of the attributions to why people called it woke fate, because you do see a lot of anti-white sentiment in movies nowadays.
Yeah.
And that was one of the just blatant lines out there. So they get on the train. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, but in the context of where it's put, I mean, I guess what they're trying to state is listen, we're trying to blend in here, and
yeah,
I'm sorry, if you or I go down to Mexico, it's not gonna work as well. I mean, if you're fluent in Spanish, if you're fluent in Spanish and all that, but I understand what you're saying too, so I get that.
I don't remember that line, but like context is the most important thing when it comes to stuff like that, and how long they dwell on it. If it was like one throwaway line, you know what I mean? Maybe.
Well, I do understand that. Yes, whites stick out down there like a sore thumb, but Sarah is fluent in Spanish, so that she wouldn't stick out too much. Grace, on the other hand, well, I couldn't tell you.
But really, Grace, it's like it's not just that. It's like you know, we got a person that kind of runs through things and fights these monsters, these machines. If you're worried about blending in, I think there's a lot more you need to worry about. But I digress. So
then we get Grace explaining what happened during that Judgment Day, the future that actually happened, as she says. You see a younger Grace, a flashback of a plane dropping down right in front of Grace. Are you telling me in a world that is post 9/11, a fucking plane blowing up not even 100 meters from you, you're going to be able to keep a straight face? That wasn't the best acting. I'm sorry, folks. Her younger actress self did not do good acting, because her look is just like, what the fuck? It was, I mean, anybody who has lived in this time period, she looked to be about maybe, I don't know, 12 years old. So yeah, she wouldn't have grown up, or she grew up post 9/11, but still she may have heard stories about 9/11. This is a world that still freaking talks about 9/11 after all, even 20 years later. And it's like, a plane just blew up in front of your face, like 80 yards away from you. People are freaking out around you as if it is literally the end of the world. Your reaction needs to sell. It didn't in the scene. I'm sorry. This is one of the objective flaws. But then she actually explains the more futuristic part of how somebody killed her dad over a can of peaches. They were fighting for food. The food went out. Billions died and whatnot. You get a little bit of the future war, and they stop it there. And then Sarah's like, and let me guess, she gives birth to the leader of the one man that can stop it. And that is basically that's Sarah's life. So she feels that Danny is basically Sarah.
Mm-hmm.
And so she's like, if you're the mother, or if you're the Virgin Mary, or Mother Mary, why do I want to beat the shit out of you so much? And it's like, oy, oy, oy. So then we get to the coyotes crossing the border, then Rev 9 infiltrating Custer Border Patrol and tries to kill Danny several times by, one, telling the Customs Border Patrols that these are Sinaloa's cartels, and two, trying to crash a drone into them. It's like, you guys might want to get a handle on your tech. I mean, why did a drone just drop from the fucking sky here, you know? Mm-hmm. So in the cages, which they definitely put in for reasons, they put in the whole, this movie was meant to stick it to the administration. That was admitted by production. So they do the whole cage comment. It's like, we got your own personal cage. Because the guy comes for Sarah Connor, and it's like, we got your own personal private cage and whatever. And it's like,
that's because she's wanted.
Well, yeah, but still, it's like, why would you use, or you used cage for a reason, because the whole kids in cage is shit. But so then the Rev 9 gets in. It's like, expect a big ping, brother. Oh, body's a weapon. Save heart of lady. Sorry, metal hip. 2 tours in Afghanistan. Thank you for your service. Yeah, I still would have I still would have waved him down. I'm sorry. Why is your head going off? Why is everything else going off if you only got a metal hip, you know? But yeah. So Grace wakes up and she's like, did I say you could look at my body part? Smashes the dude's head against the wall again. And then she's like, where do you get the prisoners? And they're like, oh, they're called detainees. It's like, shit, who the fuck cares? And she starts explaining it, and then she just slaps her to knock her out. Thanks. So then we get into this one where she finds the Rev 9, pulls a fire alarm, and the pace picks back up. As Chris said, that we hit a wall of a slow down pace, and then it picks back up where the Rev 9 is going through literally everybody, because Grace just rips the cages open and everybody just starts running. And then you see the Rev 9 getting tackled by a bunch of different people and him just shooting out spikes everywhere to kill all the soldiers and whatnot and the CBPs. And then we get to where Sarah, it's a race between the Rev 9 and Sarah to get to the chopper. Get to the chopper! You know? So, we then get to Laredo, Texas. Yes, we are skipping over how she yells at Danny because Danny acted reckless, but we are on limited time here, folks. So we then get to Carl, the mystery texter, and we knock on the door. We see Carl get up. We don't know who it is yet, and then it's revealed to be that same T-800. As you know, it had a scar because of Sarah shooting at it. And it looks and says, Sarah Connor. And she goes to blast her, and she gets stopped, and they're like, or so.
Well, that was after they traced where the number was sending all the coordinates to.
Yeah, they traced the coordinates to Laredo. And the Rev 9 is at, or asks the people back there, it's like, you guys know where I can get my hands on a chopper? So we know that it's going to have a chopper in the next time we see it. And we get the whole dynamic between Carl, or the T-800, and Sarah. She goes off because she can't believe that these two are protecting that machine. And she confides into Danny that she's starting to forget her son's face. That is another thing that pissed off a lot of people too. Your son was murdered before your eyes. He was the most important person in your life and the most important person in the freaking world that you knew ever. You're telling me that you're gonna forget that moment. You're gonna forget his face and all that. People, and a lot of people did take that as them literally trying to say, you need to forget about John. He's no longer a factor in these movies. A lot of people basically took it as an insult. Yeah. Me, I can understand that if you drink an awful fucking lot and you black out drunk all the time, yeah, maybe your mind is going to go because you're kind of turning your mind to mush, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So then T-800 Carl is like, and Grace talk, they're like, so you're, yes, Cyberdyne Systems Model 101. May I ask what you are? No. And he literally scans her, even though he looks her up and down. So it's like, you automatically know he just scanned her. Mm-hmm. So didn't even need any of that. So they go in and she's like, cute kid. He had Terminator 2. Is this your cute Terminator baby? And all that stuff. And so he explains how after he killed John, he's seen her, he received no further orders, and he had begun, in taking care of this family, he had grown the approximation or an equivalent of a human conscience. which is not out of the realm of possibility if you go strictly by T2's theatrical.
They always try
if you
to
go by,
in general, they try to decipher the humanity of AI. Can they coexist, or like will it evolve to be humane?
Yeah. Where if you go by a special edition, a flip or a switch has to be flipped in order for them to do that. Now, so because they went by theatrical, yes, he was able to basically give Sarah Connor purpose, and that is why she sent the text was sent to her, and he's like, "Now you set me free, Sarah." After, or it was your choice.
Line.
Yeah, he even turned her anger onto her. He's like, "You and John chose to destroy Skynet. It was your choices that led you to where you are now." And yes, it even led to me being sent back to kill John. I just was the successful one to do it. So they now agree, or she's like, "You want to know, give me purpose?" So she shoots him, and he's like, "This will be very difficult to explain to Alicia."
Yeah.
And so they get to the target practice scene, and they're discussing the plan to use her as bait, and that was not one of the best acting chops either with her. She's like, "I'm going to stand and fight." She has this maniacal explanation on her, or expression on her face, and it's like, okay, I get you want to stand and fight. I get that you don't want to hide and all that. Less maniacal, more brave, please. But she's a young actress, so you can't expect her to be perfect. So then we get to the target scene, and he sets up all the targets. You see dead or center mass and headshots all around. And frickin' Sarah looks up. Sarah looks over at him, and he gives him he's like, "Yeah, I know. I get it."
Going backwards just a second here to the point about him and his programming, his mission, what he was there for.
Yeah.
I did like that about this, because it goes back to John asking him what happens after this. And he says, if you die, I failed, or I
would become useless. There'd be no reason for me to exist.
Exactly. So, yeah.
So, yeah. And so here's another moment. It's like, she sucks shooting a pistol. We all see her shooting the pistol. She's missing every time. Enough of this shit. Let's get serious. She puts this massive fucking shotgun in her hand. A Terminator just killed your family. What do you do? And she gets 2 perfect shots. Guys, I've been around guns. I've fired guns. You're not prodigies rarely exist in that.
But
particular.
I'm going to tell you,
area.
I have seen in this context how they're trying to make it happen. No, but in the context that if that were actually the situation she was in, I have seen situations cause people to do things extraordinarily.
Well, yes, the adrenaline.
Exactly. But in this situation, no, you're right. This is like, okay, no, she wouldn't just be able to go, "Oh my God." No. But if she was actually presented with that situation, I believe she could have.
Yes. I mean, if a Terminator was coming at her, oh, damn, straight she could easily shoot or hit it. But with that big of a gun and whatnot, I'm sorry, I'm not buying that at all. Also, they show all the weapons, and he's like, even without the possibility of a rogue AI taking over, I calculate a 74% probability that society will revert to barbarism. And I'm like, oh, Jesus. Are we talking real life here, or are we just talking into work or movie and whatnot? Come on now. Because we all know Arnold's outlook, shall we say. And also, this is Texas. And they talk about acquiring an EMP. Wasted opportunity here, because they could have brought back Danny Dyson. Instead, it's just some obscure guy.
Well,
it's like, come on now.
They could have, or at least made reference to. I mean, that's the key, is to consistently make references to, hey, this person's missing. Where is this person?
Yeah.
I would have, like, Sarah could have made a comment like, well, I had somebody I could have called, but they're no longer around, or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, they could.
Or they could have even said. When they presented the EMP, or give Danny my best. Danny being Danny Dyson, because Danny could have been the person Danny Dyson could be the person who created the EMP. Mm-hmm. It would have been a good shot. I just feel that would have been it was a wasted opportunity. So then they're reacquired by the Rev 9, and hello, Austinator. And I'm sorry I'm not keeping up with the chat, folks. We got to get through this with the people in here. So we're getting into the third act, and the C-17 plane chase all the way down to the dam. They had great shots in that. The Terminator versus Terminator, those were the best parts of it, where you see how a T-800 is faring against a radically advanced model. How this thing is still, judging by all of the stuff it heard about the capabilities of a Rev 9, it's still effectively able to handle it for the most part. Mm-hmm. Now, under the water was when the Rev 9 really took the high ground, basically, where it had the liquid part of it pull him under the plane as it was crashing, and then rips its freaking arm off. It's like, yeah, get this fucking thing off me. What the hell's going on? So then Carl climbs back up, gets back down, gives them a needle because Grace is crashing again, and we get into the dam's whatchamacallit room, the generator room and whatnot, and we get to the main fight. And there is good dialogue between the Rev 9 and the T-800. You and I were created for the same purpose, and Legion is the only future. I came from a future like that. It failed. And it's like, I know it actually does try to reason with them, which is different from Skynet's Terminators. Can't be bargained with, can't be reasoned with. It doesn't feel pity, fear, or remorse. But this one is actually able to use psychological manipulation, or try to actually get them. It's like, why not just let me have it?
Well, see, and I like that, because here's the thing. Again, I always go back to the computer. What would a computer do? A computer realizes it's always computing. Why have I failed? Why has this not worked? What's going on? So Legion, Skynet, whatever you want to call it, would always be working to, what do we lack that humans have? Because it's
except that this is a different one. That Legion isn't Skynet, so it wouldn't have learned Skynet's mistakes.
No, I understand that. But it's always thinking, and it's always thinking of, what can I do to accomplish my mission? In this case, fine. It doesn't benefit from Skynet's failures, but what it does do is it still thinks, what are ways? So how many people in today's world talk about psychology of people? I mean, you see it all the time. They have the things where you can text people to have a therapy appointment and stuff like that. So in today's world, if that's where Legion came from, Legion's going to understand that the psychological behaviors of humans is something we need to understand and we need to work with. Hey, I'm threatening your life. If you give me her, I walk away. No problems, no harm, no foul. I'm gone. And this is a psychological thing. Now, then a human thinks, okay, should I do this? I mean, you're dealing with a different type of human, but if it were any other human out there, they may very well say, fine, take her. I'm gone. It makes sense that this computer, again, computer is all I'm going with, not Skynet, not Legion. The computer is constantly working out the end game. If this happens, if this variable happens, if this variable happens, until it thinks this is the winning combination.
Yeah.
Vanja.
And Vanja, good to see you again.
Vanja.
Dark Fate is yes, he is one of the fans of Dark Fate, and you know what?
Okay.
What one of my banner always says, and I always mean this, folks. Different opinions are welcome here. Like I said, I'm not the biggest fan of Dark Fate, but for those of you who do like it, that is all right. I have no problem with you. Oh, also I forgot.
And I'm neutral. I'm in the middle, so I'm as like a casual.
No. Josh is absolutely against this movie 100%. It's his fault. No, just kidding.
Also, folks, remember on your way out, or if you're coming in, hit that like button. It really helps the channel more than you know. It really does.
Absolutely. Hit the like, smash the like. No, I really, from a guy who doesn't have any allegiance or hatred on either side, as a neutral person, it's a good action movie. That's what I like. Is I like the action, and you don't have a lot of that. I go to the movies a lot. Usually I go see like artsy art house movies or whatever. It's nice to get a break from that and see something. Just, I hate to say turn my brain off, but
well, when it comes to franchises, turning your brain off is not something that they really want to do.
Well,
so
sometimes
because you want to immerse yourself into the lore. So yeah. So we get to the fight, and it's a pretty decent fight. I mean, even with a one-armed Terminator going full freaking mace on the or full freaking Warhammer on the Rev 9 and whatnot. Or after it gets caught into the turbines of the dam, and Grace also gets stabbed by the Rev 9's liquidator part. Grace basically tells Danny, "You got to use my power source and kill it." And then Danny gets up yelling at the Rev 9, which is basically got fucked up by the turbine. It's like, you took everything from me, so I'm going to kill you, motherfucker, you know? And she gets her moment. She starts blasting it with a shotgun and starts smacking it around with a shotgun. And I met Linda Hamilton while she was filming it in Budapest. That's pretty cool, Vanja.
Yeah.
So then we, just leaving this out there, RoboCop is better than Terminator. Happy Dino. That's your opinion, Dino. And
they're completely different.
In some ways,
RoboCop is like a satire almost, basically.
Yeah. So
it's Paul Verhoeven. So.
Yeah. So then we she's getting close to it. She's smacking her around. She's trying to push it around. She's trying to stab the thing with Grace's power source. I do want to go back one moment because Grace did finally tell her the truth of who she was. And they do the future war where they reveal Danny in the future where she's got these cornrows hairstyle. And I'm like, that doesn't tell me she's much older than where she is in this movie, you know? It's where she's supposed to be this future resistance leader. She doesn't look like a future resistance leader. She looks like she's the same age and just doesn't look good. But yeah. She finally kills, or Carl wakes up after getting smacked or getting knocked out or knocked offline by the turbine explosion. So then he wakes up enough to hold it down while she stabs it in the eye with Grace's power source because she had to cut it out of her. The thorium reactor. Mm-hmm. Thank you, Vanja. And so then the T-800 whips them over the edge into a turbine pit where the Rev 9 is still trying to break out and still trying to get up, but the T-800 is holding it down, and the thorium reactor is becomes more unstable, starts burning away everything, including the T-800's skin. And before his face burns off, yes, the Rev 9 is brutal. Don't get me wrong. I actually like the design and the concept of the Rev 9. And then his last words to Sarah is "for John." And even after its skin burns off, you actually do see it still looking up or slightly moved to look up towards Sarah. And then the thing goes off and you see the burnt remains of the Rev 9 plus the fused remains of the T-800. And it is a really touching moment. That actually got me crying because it's like, this is the last remnant of Skynet's future. I mean, unless another T-800 freaking shows up, which who knows if it will. But this one is, or it's like, you know. So she looks at it and you get the system's critical. And then it shuts down. And then we get her seeing or burying Grace and then looking at Child Grace and saying, I'm not going to let her die for me again. And then we have Sarah telling her, then you need to be ready. And then they drive off in a Jeep, reminiscent to T1.
Mm-hmm. I don't hate the ending either to this movie because I like the fact that Linda Hamilton or Sarah Connor understands that, okay, this future that I lived against or fought against and was in this collision course with has been averted. Now there's a new one. While it may not be my problem, it is this person's problem, but I have the experience of dealing with my issue. And I'm an ally to her because I believe her. I know what's going on. I like this. This is exactly what Sarah would do. This is all she knows. John, and again, John's gone. So what would she do? She'd just keep going. I mean, this is how her character is after Terminator 1. It's go forward. There's only one direction. Just go, go, go. Maybe aimless, but it's go.
Yeah. So that was, or let's get into rating and then let's get into our special announcement. Mm-hmm. So Chris, how would you rate Dark Fate?
I'd give it a 7.
Objectively or subjectively?
Objectively, I give it a 5. Subjectively, I give it a 7, maybe even an 8. I didn't hate this movie. When I say I like it, it's almost like The Last Jedi for me. I make the problems that don't work for most people, I make them work in this. And that the more work you have to do to make a movie work or to say that it works within the structure of everything else, if it's a sequel, the more work you have to do as a viewer to make it work, I believe hurts it. So, like I said, 7 to 8, because you have to do a lot of work for this movie. Even as a viewer, because if you know what you're walking into, if I had never seen Terminator before, then I don't know if this movie's that low. It may be a 9, but I'm not positive about that even. 7 to 8, and then probably a 5, because there's a lot of, takes a lot to, and I think I said this about Genesis. In Genesis, my biggest problem was just taking this idea that Skynet no longer exists or that it's changed its name magically. And yes, I know Skynet's still there. This is like the front end civilian side of Skynet was Genesis.
Yeah.
But it doesn't really dive into that much. It's just, Skynet's Genesis. It's really difficult to change that main antagonist the whole time and say it's the same movie by changing the antagonist. It's that James Bond problem. The antagonist should always be Skynet, even in this one. Call Legion the Skynet 2.0, but you call it Legion instead. Skynet realized that once it beat John, that another time started. And it wanted to conquer it too. And it, I don't know. There's an explanation there you could have done. That's my biggest problem is when they do stuff like that.
Because this movie failed, we won't be able to see what continues of it. Who knows? Legion could be revealed to actually have been Skynet.
You never know. Like you said earlier, you never know. They may try. If Cameron decides that he really has the want to do another one, he might be able to do it. I think Cameron's
actually that's no longer in his hands because the rights went back to Gail Ann Hurd.
Okay, well, yeah, and I was going to say I don't think he does have that one, but we'll see.
Aficionados, how would you rate it?
So I have my rating systems a little different. If you see my channel, I do 4 categories right now. It's probably going to change again. I'm probably going to do numbers, but with caveats. But my 4 categories are very good, like perfect, good, go out to the theater to see it. My 3rd category would be like, oh, you can wait, it's mediocre, it's a rental, et cetera, and then bad. I would say it would be my 3rd category, wait to see it. Now you can't really go see it in theater, and that's how I saw it. I saw, I'd say like mediocre. Yeah, and as far as like subjectively and objectively, I guess that's based on what, your fanhood, Chris? Is that what you mean by that?
It's that objectively is based on the movie's qualities as a movie, like directing, acting, writing, cinematography, score, visual effects.
That's what I base all my ratings on. I don't really get locked up in anything, even things that I'm big fans of, like
subjective is with bias.
Yeah, I don't really have that. Like I really liked. I like certain franchises and certain little things. Like I love Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat, all these things. But even like Mortal Kombat, I love it. But the movie itself, I just graded it on what they gave me. That's all I can really do. Keep it. Keep the integrity. But yeah, no, it's a good action film, popcorn film.
All right. As for me, I'm going to answer Soul Assassin's question here. So besides all the politics, the movie has entertainment value. Yes, it does have entertainment value. As you all know in my chat, I do give 3-tier review. I give the objective, I give the subjective, and then I give moviegoer. Where objective, without bias, it goes off the things I just listed to aficionados here. This movie is about being polite, 6.5 to 7. This movie scrapes by the skin of its teeth to a pass. The acting is not the best quality. The writing was horrible in a couple of scenes, or not just a couple, but actually a few scenes. The cinematography was good. The special effects is where it did kind of fall short a little bit. There are some special effects that are pretty good and some that are pretty rigid. The story overall is where a lot of people take issue, but that falls into the subjective, where the story itself, because it's an incomplete lore, is where it falls apart. If you are running the risk of creating or wanting this to be a franchise, you need to put enough in here so that there aren't too many questions. This movie did not do that. So it does get to a 6.5 out of 7. Subjectively, this movie is about a 7. Like I said, I'm on the fence. I did not like that they killed John Connor. I would have walked out of the theaters, except that I have a obligation to my viewers to review the movie. And I stayed through the movie. Wasn't a fan of, or back when I saw the movie originally in theaters, I was more biased because of all the identity politics and whatnot. But I have grown since I have become a YouTuber. I am willing to accept the other side of the argument and willing to hear it out. And if it has merit, I will accept, or I will say that it has merit. Chris has provided good counterpoints as a person who looks at it or who is also better at the YouTubing game than I am currently. So yeah, he has good points to it. Now, it is easy to get lost in the biases because of all the crap that's been going on. But honestly, this movie isn't as bad as I originally said. This movie does have entertainment value. So in moviegoer, it is about a 9. It stops directly at 9 because the movie, as an entertainment value, you're not tearing it down, you're not deconstructing it. It is good. And the Rev 9 Terminator popped up all over the place. Like Michael Myers, his sudden appearance was inexplicable, erratic in the film. He got my favorite bad Terminator. That honor goes to the T-1000 and T2. That's the thing. The T-1000 is a freaking, let's say he's a great white shark. But the Rev 9 is basically a megalodon. The Rev 9 was brutal. It had so much capabilities. It just was inescapable. And as Grace said, you run from it. You don't fight it. I think this movie will age well with time. The problem that I have with it, Vanja, is that they put politics in it. They put direct political messaging in it. And the reason why I will disagree with you, the reason why I disagree is because from my experience, any movie with political BS in it, with political messaging, never ages well, because the politics are of the time. Politics changes over time, as we all know. So because look how the difference was back during the administration that this movie was made under, with the whole border crisis thing, which they had to put in here to basically stick it to that one. Well, guess what? Look what's going on now. The border crisis is a lot worse. So that is a good example of how times change and how they are. That is why I don't think that the movie will age well, because of them putting politics in it or political messaging in it. But anyway, moving on to our special announcement, because Chris does have to get going. We are in 2 weeks. This is not the end of the Terminator discussions, folks. We did all of the Terminator movies discussions, but what we are going to do, Bifford the Hobbit, good to see you. I will be going over to Odin's after this. But our special announcement is in 2 weeks, most of the panel is coming back. And I'm going to try my damnedest to see if I can get one special person coming over. And I'm going to try to get Mr. H reviews, because he is a movie maker and he also talked Terminator and whatnot. He knows his Terminator lore. Because we are going to be talking, how would you do a Terminator sequel to T2? How would you continue the franchise yourself? And that is what we are planning to do in 2 weeks. The date and time is flexible because Mr. H is across the pond. It may have to be a sooner time than evening, because he would be in bed when we usually do those streams. So I'm going to try to make it work with Chris and with Mr. H and with Ambassador, and try to see if Marissa from Fans of the Terminator franchise can make it back and whatnot, to see if we can get the panel back together. But that is going to be what's going on in 2 weeks. I'm going to see if I can get him on. If I don't, that's all right. If we can, awesome. It's not really a definitive thing if he says yes or no. If he says no, okay. If he says yes, awesome. But I do want to thank everybody who has been in the chat. I want to thank Chris. I want to thank Movie Aficionados for coming in.
Thank you.
And Soul Assassin has been plugging channels, so thank you, Soul Assassin. And we will see you all in 2 weeks. Stay tuned for my stream next Wednesday morning. It is a mystery review. And this upcoming Friday is the Mechagodzilla versus Gypsy Danger versus stream. So I'm still looking for a panel for that one. If anybody wants to join that one, it's going to be 9 p.m. Friday night. So definitely let me know if you want to be a part of that. Mongo Big Thanks is going to be joining for that one. So folks, thank you so much in the chat. Banja, Soul Assassin, Biffer, Happy Dino, Mr. Pete. How many others? Austinator, and so many others. Oh my God. Thank you all for tuning in. Midnight's Edge, I saw you in the chat. Thank you for tuning in. Billatamp, thank you for tuning in. And I can't go up any higher. So, yes, thank you all for tuning in. Thank you all for leaving likes if you did. And just remember, there's no faith but what we make. And always see you in 2 weeks. And have a wonderful night, folks. And always remember to stay humble. And this thing, okay, so end it over.
I need 12 more subs, guys. Just throwing that out there to get to 200. I'm doing a cool thing.
Get them there.
Thanks, man. Get him up there. Okay, so ending broadcast because this thing is all right. There we go.